Admiral Park Yun-ki watched the massive holographic display with unwavering attention. The countless red dots representing the approaching alien fleet filled the observation deck with an eerie crimson glow. He had spent 30 years in Earth's defense forces, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for this moment. The primary defense station, hidden within the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, had detected the fleet 3 days ago. Since then, everyone aboard the station had worked around the clock, analyzing every bit of data they could gather about these unexpected visitors. Captain Kim Jae-yun's fingers moved swiftly across her control panel as new information streamed in. Her usually calm demeanor remained unchanged, but Hyun-ki noticed the slight tension in her shoulders. They had worked together for 7 years, long enough for him to read her subtle cues. "Admiral, the lead vessel is twice the size of our largest carrier," Jae-yun reported, bringing up detailed scans on a secondary screen. "Their energy signatures are unlike anything in our database. The amount of power they're generating, it's astronomical." Hyun-ki stepped closer to examine the readings. "What about their weapons systems?" "That's the strange part, sir. They're not making any attempt to hide their capabilities. In fact, they're broadcasting their technical specifications along with their diplomatic credentials." The Admiral's eyebrows rose slightly. Either this was an extraordinary show of transparency, or something else was at play. In his experience, no military force willingly revealed their true capabilities. "Sir," Jae-yun's voice carried an unusual edge of urgency. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies now. The message is, it's in perfect Earth standard." The main screen filled with the transmission. A voice, oddly melodious yet clearly artificial, filled the observation deck. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the diplomatic delegation of the Galactic Empire, coming with peaceful intentions to welcome your world into our unified civilization." Hyun-ki exchanged glances with Jae-yun. The Empire had somehow learned their language, suggesting they had been watching Earth for quite some time. In Geneva, the United Earth government scrambled to respond to this unprecedented situation. The Parliament building's Grand Assembly Hall, with its sweeping glass dome and ancient wooden panels, buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from every nation gathered for the emergency session. President Lee Soo-min stood at the podium, her silver hair gleaming under the lights. The massive screens behind her displayed the same data that Admiral Park was studying aboard the defense station. "Distinguished representatives," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "What you are seeing is not a simulation. 6 hours ago, we confirmed the approach of an alien fleet consisting of over 300 vessels of various sizes." The assembly hall erupted in whispers and exclamations. President Lee waited for the noise to settle before continuing. "Our initial scans indicate technology far beyond our publicly acknowledged capabilities. Their smallest support ships appear to possess enough power to level a continent." Defense Minister Cho stood up from his seat in the front row. "Madam President, should we not begin immediate evacuation procedures if their intentions prove hostile?" "Minister Cho," President Lee interrupted, "what I'm about to share is classified at the highest level." She pressed a button on her podium, and the displays changed to show a different set of readings. For the past 50 years, Earth has maintained a secret defense program. While we allowed the public to believe we were decades behind in space technology, we were actually preparing for exactly this scenario. Back at the defense station, Admiral Park received the notification that the President had initiated Protocol Omega. He turned to Captain Kim. "Jae-yun, bring the quantum shields online. Activate all dormant satellites." Throughout the solar system, hidden installations hummed to life. Thousands of seemingly defunct satellites suddenly powered up, revealing themselves to be part of a vast defensive network. Deep within asteroid mines and underground bases on Mars, advanced weapons platforms prepared for deployment. The Empire's diplomatic vessel transmitted again. "We detect your defensive systems activating. There is no need for alarm. We come to offer membership in the largest civilization in known space. Our technology, knowledge and protection would be available to Earth. Admiral Park studied the message carefully. "They're not surprised by our defenses," he noted. "They knew about them all along." Captain Kim pulled up new data on her screen. "Sir, I'm detecting specialized scanning beams from their fleet. They're probing our defensive grid, analyzing its capabilities." "As we expected," Hyun-ki replied. "What's the status of our countermeasures?" "All systems are functioning perfectly. Their scans will only see what we want them to see." In Geneva, President Lee revealed the final piece of information to the Assembly. The Empire's arrival was not unexpected. 10 years ago, we discovered their observation posts in the Kuiper Belt. Instead of confronting them, we used their presence to our advantage, carefully controlling what they learned about us. The Assembly Hall fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades, carefully crafting the image of a developing civilization, while secretly building one of the most sophisticated defensive networks ever created. Admiral Park watched as the Empire's fleet approached the orbit of Neptune. Soon, they would discover that humanity was not the simple, developing civilization they believed they were discovering. Earth had learned from its own history that superior technology often led to the temptation of conquest, no matter how peaceful the initial intentions might be. "Sir," Captain Kim called out, "the President is requesting your presence at the emergency session. A transport is standing by." Hyun-ki nodded, taking one last look at the holographic display. The real test would come soon enough. Would Earth's carefully laid plans be enough to maintain their independence, or was this the beginning of a conflict that would reshape the solar system? As he headed for the transport bay, he couldn't help but smile slightly. The Empire was about to learn that humanity had a few surprises in store for them. After all, sometimes the best defense was letting your opponent underestimate you until it was too late for them to change their plans. Intelligence Director Kang Ta-woo sat in his underground office beneath the Martian surface, reading the encrypted message for the third time. The red dust of Mars swirled outside his reinforced window, but his attention remained fixed on the disturbing report from Agent Song Hannah. The message had arrived through their quantum-encrypted channel, marked with the highest priority. Hannah had spent 6 months establishing her cover as a medical worker in the refugee settlement, gaining the trust of those who had fled their homes across the galaxy. "Director," his computer system announced, "Agent Song is requesting an immediate video conference." Tai-woo straightened his uniform. "Connect her." Hannah's face appeared on his screen, her expression grim. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't slept in days. "Director, the situation is worse than we imagined. I've made contact with survivors from 12 different worlds. The pattern is always the same." She held up a data tablet showing images of various alien species. "The Empire arrives with promises of peace and prosperity. They offer technology, medical advancements, and protection. Most worlds accept willingly at first." Tai-woo leaned forward. "And then, the cultural integration begins slowly. They establish educational centers, teaching their language and customs. Within a year, local languages are discouraged. Within 2 years, they're banned in public spaces." A quiet knock interrupted them. Ta-woo's assistant entered with a refugee who appeared mostly human, except for the slight purple tinge to their skin. "Director, this is Rin. They insisted on speaking with you directly." Rin stepped forward, their hands trembling slightly. "Your agent says you're preparing to resist the Empire. I had to tell you what happened to my world." Tai-woo gestured to a chair, and Rin sat down carefully. On the screen, Hannah watched intently as Rin began their story. "We were like Earth once. We had our own technology, our own culture, our own dreams of reaching the stars. The Empire came with their grand promises and amazing technologies. Our leaders were impressed by their advanced medical treatments that could cure our worst diseases." Rin's voice cracked slightly. "The changes were subtle at first. They suggested improvements to our education system. They offered to upgrade our communication networks. Everything seemed beneficial. When did it change?" Ta Wu asked softly. After the third year, they declared our traditional festivals were unsafe and needed to be modernized. They replaced our art with imperial-approved versions. Children were taught that the Empire's way was the only correct path. Hannah's voice came through the screen. Director, show him the images I sent. Ta Wu opened another file on his computer. Pictures of various worlds appeared, before and after the Empire's arrival. The changes were striking. Cities that once showed distinct cultural architecture had been replaced with uniform imperial designs. Those who resisted openly simply vanished, Rin continued. Whole communities would disappear overnight. The Empire would claim they had chosen to relocate to better opportunities elsewhere in the galaxy. But we never heard from them again. Ta Wu pulled up Earth's latest scans of the Imperial fleet. How did you escape? A small group of us had been preparing in secret. We stole a transport during a solar storm that disrupted their tracking systems. Most of the ships in our group didn't make it. The Empire's patrol ships are ruthless with refugees. Hannah interrupted. Director, there's more. I've discovered their timeline for Earth. Ta Wu's expression remained neutral, but his fingers tightened on his desk. Go on. They've already begun positioning their cultural integration teams. They're hidden among the diplomatic corps. Once they establish their embassy, they'll request permission to build their first educational center within 3 months. Ren nodded vigorously. That's exactly how it started on my world. The educational centers are their first step. They're filled with advanced learning technology that makes them irresistible to young people. Ta Wu stood up and walked to his window, watching the Martian storm outside. How long do we have before they move to the next phase? 3 months. Hannah replied firmly. After that, they'll begin implementing their integration protocols whether we agree or not. They'll use any resistance as justification for more direct control. The intelligence director turned back to his desk and pressed a button. Computer, connect me to Admiral Park and President Lee. Priority 1. As the system worked to establish the secure connection, Ta Wu looked at Rin. Would you be willing to testify before Earth's leadership? They need to hear your story directly. Rin straightened in their chair. I'll do more than that. I have data crystals containing proof of everything I've told you. Technical specifications of their integration centers, documentation of their suppression protocols, even records of their relocation programs. Sir, Hannah interjected, I've confirmed the authenticity of Rin's data crystals. The Empire's entire playbook is there, including their contingency plans if a world refuses integration. The computer chimed as Admiral Park and President Lee joined the conference. Their faces appeared on separate screens, joining Hannah's feed. Madam President, Admiral, Ta Wu began, we have confirmed intelligence about the Empire's true intentions. They're not here for diplomatic relations. This is the beginning of a forced cultural assimilation. President Lee's expression hardened. How certain are you? 100%. Hannah replied. I'm sending you the evidence now, including testimony from survivors of other integrated worlds. Admiral Park studied something off-screen. The refugee data matches our observations of Empire space. Worlds that have been integrated show no signs of their original culture. They're all identical now. 3 months, Ta Wu stated firmly. That's how long we have before they begin their integration program, with or without our consent. President Lee leaned forward. Then we have 3 months to prepare our response. Director Kang, I want all the evidence compiled and verified. Admiral Park, accelerate the deployment of our defensive systems. We're going to show the Empire that Earth isn't like any world they've encountered before. As the conference ended, Ta Wu looked at Rin. Thank you for your courage in bringing us this information. We'll make sure your sacrifice wasn't in vain. Rin managed a small smile. Just promise me one thing. When Earth stops them, help free my world too. Help free all of them. Ta Wu nodded solemnly. Earth's resistance wouldn't just be about protecting their own world. It would be about breaking the Empire's hold on countless civilizations across the galaxy. The next 3 months would determine not just Earth's fate, but the fate of every world under Imperial control. The Grand Assembly Hall of the United Earth Government fell silent as President Lee Soo-min stepped up to the podium. Thousands of delegates from every nation watched, while billions more viewed the broadcast across Earth and its colonies. The Imperial ambassador sat in the front row, his silvery skin reflecting the bright lights. After careful consideration of the evidence presented to this assembly, President Lee began, her voice clear and unwavering. Earth has reached a decision regarding the Empire's offer of integration. Commander Choi Yun-seo watched the broadcast from her control center deep within the Rocky Mountains. Her fingers hovered over the activation protocols for Earth's defense grid, waiting for the signal. Years of preparation had led to this moment. The people of Earth have built our civilization through thousands of years of cultural evolution. President Lee continued. We have learned from our mistakes, grown through our challenges, and emerged stronger through our diversity. The Imperial ambassador's expression remained neutral, but his aide was frantically typing on a small device. They had expected Earth to accept their offer without question, just as hundreds of worlds had done before. Therefore, as of this moment, Earth's borders are now closed to all Imperial vessels. Any unauthorized entry into our solar system will be considered an act of aggression and met with appropriate force. The assembly hall erupted in gasps and murmurs. The Imperial ambassador stood up abruptly, his metallic robes shimmering. Madam President, this is unprecedented. Perhaps you don't understand the opportunities you're rejecting. President Lee's gaze remained steady. We understand perfectly, Ambassador. We've seen what happened to other worlds that accepted your opportunities. We've heard the testimony of refugees who escaped your cultural integration programs. Commander Choi received the coded signal she had been waiting for. She began the activation sequence for the planetary defense system, a project that had consumed the resources of every major nation for decades. Impossible, the ambassador declared. Our refugee containment protocols are perfect. No one has ever escaped. President Lee smiled slightly. Perhaps your empire isn't as infallible as you believe. Commander Choi, you may proceed with the demonstration. Yun-seo's fingers danced across her control panel. Across Earth's orbit, thousands of satellites that had appeared dormant for years suddenly hummed to life. Energy fields began forming between them, creating an interlocking network of protective barriers. What you're witnessing, President Lee explained to the stunned assembly, is Earth's Aegis Shield system, a defensive network capable of protecting our entire planet from any known form of attack. The Imperial ambassador's aide dropped his device, his composed demeanor cracking. These energy signatures, they're more advanced than our own shield technology. That's correct, President Lee confirmed. Earth has not been idle during your years of observation. While you watched our public space program and evaluated our official technology levels, our true capabilities remained hidden. Commander Choi activated the second phase of the defense grid. Holographic displays showed the shield network extending beyond Earth's orbit, creating a protective sphere that could be expanded or contracted as needed. Impossible, the ambassador repeated, but his voice had lost its confidence. No developing world could have created this technology secretly. And that, President Lee replied, was your first mistake. You assumed we were developing. You saw what we wanted you to see. Your cultural assimilation program works by targeting worlds that feel technologically inferior to the Empire. We made sure to appear as such. Commander Choi reported through the secure channel. Shield network at full power, Madam President. All systems functioning at optimal levels. The assembly watched in awe as the shield became visible from Earth's surface, creating a subtle iridescent pattern in the sky. It was a display of power designed to be seen, to send a clear message to the Empire and its forces. Ambassador, President Lee continued, you have 24 hours to withdraw your diplomatic mission from our solar system. After that, any Imperial vessels attempting to cross our defensive perimeter will be disabled and impounded. The ambassador's face shifted through various shades of silver as he processed this unprecedented situation. You realize the Empire will not accept this rejection. We have never been denied entry to any world we've chosen to integrate. Then perhaps it's time for that to change. President Lee's voice carried across the silent hall. Earth is not alone in resisting your forced cultural assimilation. We've been in contact with other worlds, sharing our shield technology with those who wish to preserve their independence. Commander Choi smiled as her displays showed the shield network's power levels stabilizing. Years of secret testing had paid off. The system was performing even better than their highest expectations. This is your only warning, President Lee concluded. Earth's borders are closed. We will defend our independence with every resource at our disposal. The age of imperial expansion ends here. As the ambassador and his delegation hurriedly left the assembly hall, President Lee received a private message from Commander Choi. Additional defense platforms in position around Mars and Jupiter. All colonies protected. We're ready for whatever comes next. The Empire had never faced real resistance before. They had never encountered a world that saw through their deception and prepared accordingly. Earth had just changed the rules of their game, and the next moves would reshape the balance of power throughout the galaxy. President Lee looked out at the assembled representatives of humanity. The Empire believed they were observing us. Instead, we were studying them, learning their weaknesses, and preparing our defense. Today, we show the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for. The assembly hall erupted in applause as the first Imperial ships began their retreat from Earth's solar system. But in her command center, Commander Choi knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when the Empire decided how to respond to their first major defeat in centuries. Admiral Park Hyun-ki stood in the Lunar Command Center, watching as another Imperial probe ship drifted powerlessly in space. It was the third one this week, each more sophisticated than the last. The shield harmonics had rendered its scanning systems useless before Earth's defensive grid gently disabled its engines. "Prepare the return protocol," he ordered. Captain Kim Jae-yun nodded, initiating the now familiar procedure. A small Earth vessel approached the probe, attached a marker beacon, and used a tractor beam to push it back toward Imperial space. "Another message, sir?" Jae-yun asked, her hands hovering over the communication console. "The usual. Your vessel entered restricted space and was disabled according to previously issued warnings. Further violations will be met with increasing severity." On Earth, the population had embraced the challenges posed by the Imperial threat. Cities worldwide had begun their transformation, extending deeper underground while maintaining their surface presence. The Shanghai Underground had become a marvel of engineering, with vertical farms and solar light channels creating a self-sustaining environment below the city. In New York, Admiral Park's second-in-command, Commander Lee Min-ho, supervised the integration of civilian shelters with military installations. "The Empire doesn't understand humans very well," he remarked to his team. "Their threats are only making us more determined." The Imperial Diplomatic Corps had attempted to pressure Earth through their network of allied worlds. Trade sanctions were announced, travel restrictions imposed. But Earth had prepared for this too. Years of secret stockpiling and development of self-sufficient systems were paying off. "Admiral," Captain Kim called out, "we're detecting unusual activity at the edge of the solar system." The main display showed a cluster of small ships moving in an irregular pattern. Their energy signatures matched Imperial technology, but their behavior was different from previous probe ships. "They're testing our response times," Admiral Park observed. "Launch interceptors, but hold them just outside our outer defense perimeter. Let's see what these ships do." Earth's interceptors, sleek vessels that had been hidden in bases throughout the asteroid belt, emerged from their concealed hangars. They took up positions that appeared casual but actually formed a precise defensive grid. The Imperial ships suddenly accelerated, each choosing a different trajectory toward Earth. Captain Kim's fingers flew across her console, coordinating the defense network's response. The shield harmonics adjusted automatically, creating localized barriers in the path of each incoming vessel. They're collecting data on our shield modulation patterns, Jai-Yun reported. Each ship is using a different scanning frequency. Admiral Park smiled slightly. Let them look. Our shield technology doesn't work like theirs. They're searching for weaknesses that don't exist. On Earth, citizens watched the space battle through public broadcasts. Instead of panic, there was a sense of pride as Earth's defenses easily contained each Imperial probe. Children in schools studied the new shield technology, understanding for the first time that their world had been preparing for this moment for generations. The Imperial ships, finding themselves unable to penetrate the shield grid, attempted a new tactic. They launched small devices that looked like debris, hoping they would slip through the defensive screen. Clever, Admiral Park admitted, but not clever enough. Activate the secondary grid. A previously invisible network of smaller satellites came to life, intercepting the Imperial devices with precise energy pulses that rendered them inert. Captain Kim directed collection drones to gather the disabled devices for study. Admiral, a new voice called out. It was Dr. Song Minjai, Earth's leading expert on Imperial technology. You need to see this analysis of their latest probes. The scientist's image appeared on a secondary screen. They're not just testing our defenses. They're trying to understand how we develop this technology independently. Each probe carries different scanning equipment designed to trace our technological evolution. Can they succeed? Admiral Park asked. Dr. Song shook his head. No, our development path was completely different from theirs. They're looking for familiar patterns that don't exist in our system. Meanwhile, in cities across Earth, the population continued their preparations with calm efficiency. Underground transport systems were expanded, hydroponic farms were established, and energy production was decentralized. What had started as military preparation had evolved into a societal transformation. The Empire's sanctions are backfiring, Captain Kim reported, reading from a new intelligence summary. Other worlds are watching how we're handling the pressure. Some are beginning to question the Empire's authority. Admiral Park walked to the window overlooking the lunar surface. Earth hung in the black sky, its shield grid creating the subtle shimmer around the planet. The Empire built its power on the assumption that younger civilizations would be eager to accept their help. They don't know how to handle one that chooses to stand alone. Another alert sounded. The Imperial probes were pulling back, their mission apparently complete. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The Empire would analyze their data, revise their strategies, and try again. Send a message to all defense stations, Admiral Park ordered. The Empire is learning our patterns. It's time to implement random shield modulation protocols. Keep them guessing. As the Lunar Command Center staff carried out his orders, Admiral Park reflected on how this crisis had changed humanity. The threat of Imperial integration had united Earth in ways that no internal challenge ever had. Cities were becoming more resilient, technology was advancing rapidly, and people were working together with unprecedented cooperation. They thought they would find us weak and divided, he murmured. Instead, they'd made us stronger. Captain Kim looked up from her console. Sir, President Lee is requesting a status update. She's meeting with the Defense Council in an hour. Tell her the Empire is still testing us, and we're passing every test. But remind her that these are just the preliminary moves. The real challenge will come when they decide to stop playing games and show us their true strength. The Admiral turned back to the main display, where the disabled Imperial probes were being pushed back toward their territory. Each one carried a message, not just in its beacon, but in the fact of its defeat. Earth was ready, Earth was united, and Earth was not going to submit. General Nam Do-hyun watched from his command center deep within Olympus Mons as the massive hangar doors began to open. Years of secrecy were about to end. Red Martian dust swirled around the opening, concealing the true size of Earth's hidden fleet until the perfect moment. All ships report ready, sir, his aide, Lieutenant Park Min-soo announced. Quantum drive systems are at full power. The general nodded, his weathered face showing no emotion. Begin launch sequence. Remember, we want them to see exactly what we're capable of. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. Hidden bases on the moon's far side opened their doors. Asteroid installations revealed their true nature. What appeared to be mining operations transformed into military launch facilities. The first ship to emerge was the EDS Defender, Earth's most advanced battleship. Its hull gleamed under the distant sunlight, quantum drive ports pulsing with blue energy. The vessel moved with impossible grace for its size, demonstrating maneuverability that defied conventional physics. Imperial observers detected at all planned coordinates. Lieutenant Park reported. They're watching. Good, General Nam replied. Launch the rest of the fleet. Show Formation Alpha. More ships rose from their hidden berths. Cruisers, destroyers, and support vessels took their positions, forming an intricate pattern that demonstrated both precision control and tactical awareness. The quantum drives allowed them to move in ways that traditional space engines couldn't match. In lunar orbit, Admiral Park's voice came through the command channel. General, Imperial scout ships are moving to investigate. They're charging weapons. As expected, General Nam said calmly, let them make the first move. But when they do, show them exactly why we've kept this fleet hidden for so long. The Imperial scouts accelerated toward the Earth fleet, their energy weapons charging. They fired warning shots, bright beams of energy that passed harmlessly through the space between Earth's ships. They're broadcasting a demand for us to power down and prepare for inspection, Lieutenant Park reported. General Nam allowed himself a small smile. Initiate Defense Protocol 1. Let's show them what Earth vessels can do. The Imperial ships fired again, this time aiming directly at the EDS Defender. What happened next stunned the Imperial observers. The energy beams didn't impact a shield. They simply ceased to exist several meters from the Earth ship's hull. Energy nullification field functioning perfectly, Lieutenant Park announced proudly. Their weapons aren't just being blocked. They're being absorbed and recycled into our power grid. The Earth fleet began to move in perfect coordination. Ships passed through each other's defensive fields, combining and separating their protective bubbles in ways that the Empire had never seen before. It wasn't just advanced technology. It was a completely different approach to space combat. Imperial vessels are launching fighters, came the alert. Dozens of small craft poured from the scout ships, their weapons armed. Defensive pattern beta, General Nam ordered. Show them our point defense capabilities. Small ports opened along the Earth ships' hulls. Instead of traditional weapons, they released clouds of tiny drones. The drones formed complex three-dimensional networks, creating zones that the Imperial fighters couldn't penetrate without losing power. Sir, they're trying to scan our quantum drives, Lieutenant Park reported. Let them look, the general replied. They won't understand what they're seeing. Our drive technology developed along a completely different path than theirs. The Imperial fighters made several attempts to breach the drone network, but each time they found themselves powerless, gently pushed back by fields they couldn't detect until it was too late. Message from the lead Imperial scout, Lieutenant Park announced. They're demanding to know how we develop these capabilities without their detection. General Nam stepped forward, activating the communication system himself. Your empire made a fundamental mistake. You assumed that any civilization less advanced than yours would develop along the same technological path you did. We chose a different way. The Earth fleet continued its demonstration. Ships phased through solid matter, using quantum fields to temporarily alter their relationship with physical space. Others demonstrated the ability to create localized time distortions, making them appear to move at impossible speeds. Sir, Lieutenant Park called out, the Imperial scouts are retreating. They're transmitting massive amounts of data back to their fleet. Let them, General Nam said. Everything they've seen today was planned. Our real capabilities remain hidden. The general turned to his tactical display, watching as the Earth fleet moved through another series of complex maneuvers. Each movement was precisely calculated to demonstrate a different aspect of their technology, while carefully concealing its true limits. "Send word to all commanders," he ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin preparations for Phase 2. The Empire now knows we can defend ourselves. Soon they'll learn we can do much more than that." As the Imperial scouts disappeared into deep space, General Nam reflected on the years of preparation that had led to this moment. Earth had taken a huge gamble, developing technology in secret while letting the Empire believe they were far behind. Now that gamble was paying off. "Lieutenant," he said quietly, "send my compliments to the science teams on Saturn's moons. Tell them their quantum drive designs exceeded all expectations." The Earth fleet regrouped, taking up defensive positions around the planet. They had shown the Empire something unprecedented, a civilization that had developed completely different solutions to the challenges of space travel and combat. "Sir," Lieutenant Park said, "Admiral Park is requesting permission to reveal the phase shift capabilities of our larger vessels." "Not yet," General Nam replied. "Let them think about what they've seen today. Every new capability we reveal should make them question their assumptions even more." The general watched as his fleet settled into their patrol patterns, their quantum drives pulsing quietly. The Empire had just learned that Earth wasn't the simple developing world they had thought. Soon they would learn that this was just the beginning of their education. Admiral Park stood at his command post on the lunar base, watching as thousands of Imperial ships took position at the edge of the solar system. Their formation stretched across space like a glittering wall of metal and energy, a display of force meant to intimidate Earth into submission. "Commander Choi reports all defense screens at maximum power," Captain Kim announced from her station. "The shield harmonics are cycling randomly as planned." The Admiral nodded, studying the tactical display. The Imperial fleet was larger than anything they had expected, but Earth's preparations would hold. "Have they made any new demands?" "No, sir. They maintain their original position. Earth must accept integration into the Empire or face isolation." On Earth, President Lee was conducting an emergency meeting with representatives from other worlds who had secretly contacted Earth after seeing their successful resistance. The secure conference room deep beneath Geneva hummed with translated conversations. "Your shield technology," a delegate from the Centauri colony said, "could it be adapted to protect our worlds?" President Lee shared a glance with her technical advisors before responding. "We developed our shields specifically because they work differently from Imperial technology. We can help you create your own versions." In lunar orbit, Admiral Park received a priority alert. "Sir, Imperial ships are changing formation. They're creating gaps in their line. They want us to think they're leaving weaknesses to exploit," he observed. Status of our quantum scout drones. All drones reporting normal operation. They're detecting massive energy buildups in the Imperial fleet, but no weapons charging yet. Commander Choi's face appeared on a secondary screen. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual readings from the Empire's flagship. They might be preparing something new. Maintain shield rotation protocols," Park ordered. "Whatever they're planning, they still don't understand how our defenses work." The standoff had lasted 3 days now. The Imperial fleet made no aggressive moves, but their presence was a constant reminder of the Empire's power. Yet with each passing hour, more reports arrived of other worlds watching Earth's resistance with growing interest. "Message from the Proxima colonies," Captain Kim reported. "They've activated their own shield system, based on our designs. The Imperial garrison there was unable to penetrate it." Admiral Park allowed himself a small smile. This was exactly what they had hoped for, not just defending Earth, but showing others they could resist too. The main screen suddenly lit up with activity. The Imperial fleet was launching thousands of small objects toward the solar system. "Analysis," Park demanded. "They appear to be autonomous probes," Captain Kim replied. "Each one is broadcasting a different frequency, trying to find gaps in our shield coverage." Commander Choi's voice came through again. activating secondary defense grid. These probes are more sophisticated than the previous ones. The space between Earth and the Imperial fleet became a light show as thousands of probes encountered Earth's layered defenses. Each probe tried a different approach. Some attempted to phase through the shields, others tried to overload them with energy pulses, and some even attempted to create microscopic wormholes. "They're testing every possible way through our defenses," Park observed. "But they still don't realize we're not using traditional shield technology." In Geneva, President Lee received updates on the probe attack while continuing her discussions with foreign delegates. "This is why we kept our advances secret," she explained. "The Empire believes all technological development must follow their path. They can't comprehend that we found different solutions." A delegate from the Epsilon system stood up. "Our scientists have studied the technical data you shared. We believe we can adapt your quantum field technology to our existing systems." More reports flowed in from across known space. The Rigel colonies had declared their independence. The Vega system had activated its own version of Earth's defensive screen. What had started as one world's resistance was becoming a revolution. "Admiral," Captain Kim called out, "the Imperial flagship is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're requesting direct communication with our command." Park straightened his uniform. "Put them through." The Imperial Grand Admiral appeared on screen, his metallic skin reflecting the lights of his bridge. "Your resistance is impressive, but futile. The Empire has brought peace and progress to 1,000 worlds. We will not allow this disorder to spread." "You mistake independence for disorder," Park replied calmly. "Each world you've absorbed had its own path of development, its own unique solutions to universal problems. Your integration destroys that diversity, replacing it with uniformity." The Imperial probes continued their assault on Earth's defenses, each failure providing more data about how Earth's technology worked, or rather, showing the Empire how much they didn't understand it. "Sir," Commander Choi reported, "3 more systems have declared independence in the past hour. They're all implementing variations of our shield technology." The Imperial Grand Admiral's expression hardened. "You don't understand what you're doing. The Empire maintains order across the galaxy. Without our guidance, chaos will return." "No," Admiral Park responded. "We understand perfectly. Your Empire maintains control by making worlds dependent on your technology, your way of thinking. We've shown them there are other paths." The standoff continued, but the balance of power was shifting. Each hour brought news of another world activating its own shields, another system declaring its independence. Earth had done more than just resist. It had shown the galaxy that resistance was possible. "The Imperial fleet is adjusting its position," Captain Kim announced. "They're pulling back to a higher orbit." Admiral Park watched as the massive fleet began to move. They weren't retreating, not yet, but they were no longer maintaining their threatening posture. The Empire had just learned something they had never expected. They could be defied, and their power was not absolute. "Send word to all commands," Park ordered. "Maintain defense status, but do not provoke. Let them consider their options." He turned to look at the blue Earth hanging in space, its quantum shield creating a subtle distortion of starlight. They thought they were coming to integrate one world. Instead, they may have just started the disintegration of their empire. The Geneva Peace Center gleamed under the morning sun as ships from across the galaxy descended through Earth's defensive shield. The Imperial Grand Admiral's personal vessel landed first, its sleek silver hull marked with the symbols of his rank. Admiral Park and Captain Kim stood with President Lee and other Earth officials in the reception area. The Imperial delegation approached, their usual confidence replaced by an unfamiliar hesitation. "Welcome to Earth," President Lee said, extending her hand in the human gesture of greeting. The Grand Admiral paused before accepting it, his metallic skin reflecting the sunlight. "We request a private discussion," he stated. "What I must share cannot leave the meeting room." Inside the secure conference chamber, Earth's leaders listened as the Empire's greatest secret was revealed. The Grand Admiral activated a holographic display showing spreading areas of red across a map of Imperial space. "Our empire is breaking apart," he admitted. "Each new world we integrate requires more resources to maintain control. Our expansion wasn't just about spreading civilization. It was about survival." Captain Kim studied the data carefully. "Your standardization protocols are failing. Each world you absorb increases the strain on your systems." "Yes," the Grand Admiral confirmed. "We thought uniformity would bring stability. Instead, it created brittleness. When one system fails, the pattern repeats across all integrated worlds." President Lee leaned forward, and our resistance revealed these cracks to everyone. "Your different path of development showed other worlds they had choices," the Imperial leader explained. "Now our integrated worlds are trying to remember their own forgotten technologies, their abandoned solutions." Admiral Park accessed Earth's secure database, displaying their proposal on the main screen. "We anticipated this possibility. Earth has prepared an alternative to your failing empire." The display showed a network of connected but independent worlds, each maintaining its own culture and technology, while sharing knowledge and resources. At the center was a council chamber where representatives from all worlds could meet as equals. "A coalition," President Lee explained, "not an empire. Each world free to develop its own path, but united in mutual defense and scientific exchange." The Grand Admiral studied the proposal. The Empire's purpose was to prevent chaos, to guide developing worlds toward stability. "And instead, you created stagnation," Admiral Park replied. "Look at how Earth's different approach to technology has already helped other worlds. Imagine thousands of civilizations, each finding unique solutions, sharing their discoveries." Outside the conference room, ships from newly independent worlds continued to arrive. Each one carried leaders eager to join the discussion about the galaxy's future. Captain Kim's console chimed with updates. "Sir, the Centauri colonies have successfully adapted our quantum shield design to protect their entire system. The Rigel worlds have developed a new variation that works even better in their unique environment." The Grand Admiral watched the reports flowing in. "We feared difference. We saw it as a source of conflict, of weakness. Perhaps we were wrong." President Lee activated the final part of Earth's presentation. "Your empire doesn't need to fall. It can evolve. Join our coalition as equals. Your experience in maintaining interstellar cooperation would be invaluable." Hours passed as details were discussed. The Imperial fleet would withdraw from forced integration programs. Earth's defensive technology would be shared with any world that wanted to maintain its independence. A new council would be formed, with representatives from all worlds, Imperial, independent, and newly free. Admiral Park and Captain Kim returned to the observation deck as the agreements were finalized. They watched the Imperial fleet preparing to depart, not in defeat but as part of a new beginning. "Look," Jai Yun pointed to the incoming ships. Vessels of all designs and origins were arriving, each unique in its approach to space travel. Some used quantum drives like Earth's. Others had developed entirely different solutions. "The galaxy got too big for one empire to control," Hyun-Ki observed. "It needs something more flexible, more resilient." The first meeting of the new coalition would begin soon. Representatives from 100 worlds would gather to discuss how to maintain peace and progress while preserving their unique cultures and technologies. A flash of light caught their attention as the Imperial flagship engaged its engines. The mighty vessel moved away from Earth, its departure marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. "Did you ever think," Jai Yun asked, "when we first detected their fleet, that it would end like this?" Hyun-Ki smiled. "No. We prepared for war but found a path to real peace. Not through force or uniformity, but through understanding and respect for difference." Below them, Earth continued its own development, its cities reaching both skyward and underground, its people united not by fear, but by hope. They had not just preserved their independence, they had helped create a new way for civilizations to coexist. ready to welcome our new allies? Jaehyun asked, looking at the incoming ships from newly independent worlds. Yes, Hyunki replied, but this time on our terms. The real work is just beginning. The observation deck filled with light as Earth's quantum shield adjusted to allow more ships through. Each vessel represented a world choosing its own path, ready to contribute its unique perspective to the galaxy's future. The age of enforced uniformity was over. The age of celebrated diversity had begun.